Hello and welcome back to the Touch Gloves podcast. I'm Jackson. I'm joined here with Richard.
Hi mate, you alright?
Alright, how's it going?
Could be better, I'm a little bit ill, but...
Yeah, it's that cold weather. It's getting to us now.
oh yeah, 100%. It's not what I'd call ideal, but you know, it's there. Winter is coming.
Take two of today's podcast after this morning's little shenanigans getting kicked out the room. But we're back.
Second time lucky.
So, not a lot's really happened over the past week or so. I mean, you've turned 20.
Yeah, I'm the big 2-0 now.
Big 2-0. And
I'm a big boy. Getting on.
got Halloween happening last night. I didn't go out. I only went to the casino.
Yeah, I was just at home playing Red Dead Redemption.
Ideal night.
Honestly, like, it's ruined my life. I don't go outside.
I'm waiting for Black Friday to cop myself a Red
23rd of November, boys.
23rd November.
Something to look forward to.
But in terms of the fighting world, it's we've had the 138 happen this weekend. That happened on Saturday night, Sunday morning.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't watch it. I know you didn't watch it. You were out for your...
I was out for my birthday that night, but I caught up with what was going on the day after, and there were no knockouts on the main card.
No knockout. There was one knockout in the whole...
No, there was two on the preliminaries.
Oh, right, yeah.
There was one on the UFC Fight Pass preliminary.
I mean, I didn't even get through all the fights because, one, none of them really sounded worth watching, to be quite honest.
The Artem Lobov fight was probably the one I
very,
was looking forward to. But
disappointing. I mean,
yeah,
the punches he was throwing, oh my god.
He let himself open to Michael Johnson just coming in. Like, he didn't counter him, he didn't come back for him. He was just letting himself get hit. But
I mean, I strictly went for him because of the Khabib and McGregor sort of thing that was going on. He got himself involved, and I wanted him to...
I mean, it spiralled from him. It spiralled from the Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, but... no, he got absolutely slapped. He didn't get slapped, it was sore, but...
It was a little bit...
It wasn't a good fight from him by any means.
Yeah, not at all.
But,
if we started, like, the welterweight on the main card...
Yeah.
Conor McGee and Alex Garcia. McGee won the fight. Decision. It is where it is.
That's something that we're going to be hearing a lot in this podcast. Down to decision.
He won every round. In terms of points.
Yeah, I mean... Say what you want about the fight, but... yeah, no, wasn't the most entertaining cards. Yeah,
it definitely wasn't the most entertaining card. Move on to light heavyweight bout. Valant and Herman. Valant beats Herman, decision again. But it was pretty even, that fight. I mean, Valant won the first round, followed by Herman win the second, and Valant took the third round.
Yeah.
With it being a fight night, it's only 3-round fights.
Yeah, 3-round fights. I mean, they could have at least extended it to longer rounds, but I think that was the feeling going into it. If you're putting 3-round fights in, it's going to be a lot of decisions or submissions. So
yeah, I mean, when we move up to the bantamweight, we've got Saukampf. I've totally butchered his name, but he beat Martinez, another decision. But looking at that fight, he absolutely dominated the first round. Martinez had absolutely no footing whatsoever, and he very closely won the other 2 rounds. It was a total unanimous decision. And Martinez lost that one. We look at the light heavyweight. It's the first submission of the night. Misha Serkinov beating Patrick Cummins. An arm triangle choke.
ooh,
Sounds a bit rough, but I mean, fair play.
isn't that the one that Khabib got Conor in?
I don't think that was an arm triangle choke.
Which one's that?
I can't remember. I know
Arm
that's
triangle choke.
yeah, arm triangle choke.
Man, I don't even know what that is.
It was in the first round as well.
first round submission.
First round submission.
Jeez, must have got
We
must
go
have got
up.
a good knockdown then, if that's the case.
Yeah, 100%. We go up to the Artem Lobov fight. Total unanimous decision.
He was throwing punches and like...
He held on the first 2 rounds, right? But you get to round 3. Round 3 was just Michael Johnson's round. No question about
Above
it.
He was landing a few shin kicks, but to be honest, watching them, they were just pathetic.
No, Michael Johnson was putting the performance on, but it wasn't like a great performance from Artem Lobov. Like, the guy just left himself open. He wasn't going in. He wasn't attacking. He was just.
I think he was
straight
trying to be a lot more technical, but that just didn't go his way because first 2 rounds he managed to hold on, but didn't quite go his way.
Yeah, he just fell off on the 3rd round. When we get the main event, Volkan and Smith. Smith beats him.
This was
A rear naked choke.
the main headline of the whole card was that Volkan actually got submitted by Smith, and I think going into it, Volkan was the favourite.
He was the favourite.
He was definitely the favourite, but
I'd say it's quite an upset. Like, it wasn't that far into the 3rd round where Smith put him in the submission.
yeah. Have you ever seen him fight Volkan?
In a few little bouts, yeah.
He's a good fighter. He's it's hard to describe. He reminds me of what do you call him? The Dutch fighter, the one that fought Brock Lesnar.
You've lost me here.
Oh, it'll come to us. He's got mohawk. He's a big fighter. He I don't know if you remember the fight. It was Brock Lesnar versus it's actually annoying me. He's a Dutch fighter, and he threw a leg kick, hit Brock Lesnar in the stomach, and like a second later he went down.
Got no clue.
Oh, it's actually killing me.
That's totally lost me.
Hold on, I'll be able to find it here.
But in terms of Brock Lesnar, supposedly Brock Lesnar's going to be sitting in the crowd at 2:30.
Is he?
Yeah.
Interesting. Alistair Overeem, that's it.
Alistair Overeem.
Do you know who Overeem is?
No, never heard of the guy.
Never heard of Overeem. He's quite a big fighter in the UFC actually, but
that name's totally like one ear out the other.
Alistair Overeem reminds me of him a bit, and to be fair, the fight for Volkan, I think it absolutely surprised him getting into the submission. Did you see the replays of it?
No, I didn't catch the replays. But
a few good punches in, but to be honest, the submission really did catch him out, and that really concluded the fight for him. But he saw that fighting style of Overeem. Maybe Saint Pierre if you want. I think that's a bit far, but
Saint Pierre. Have you heard?
I've heard.
Nurmagomedov versus George St. Pierre. That's what I call exciting times. Big super fight.
You can link any big name to Khabib. I mean, we want to see Ferguson versus Khabib, but there's people that have heard Nate Diaz versus Khabib. They want a Conor McGregor 2 versus Khabib.
I don't think that should happen.
I think St. Pierre is the most realistic one so far.
I mean, St. Pierre hasn't fought for about a year. He hasn't fought for about a year now.
No, he hasn't, but Daniel Cormier's actually come out and said that Khabib would defeat St. Pierre by decision. And personally, in my opinion, I think Khabib would win the fight. Either through submission or decision.
On a straightforward, try not let my bias get in front of me here, because I don't really like Khabib, but looking at the fight, realistically, I do think Khabib will win. If it does go ahead, obviously. But I would still like to see St. Pierre win.
Yeah.
Because I like the fighter.
I mean, I think realistically that's the top fight that Khabib's probably going to get next. I mean, St. Pierre, I'll have to sort of watch him over and over again to see what he's about, because I haven't seen him fight since...
Last fight was November 2017. That's pretty much a year ago.
That is literally a year ago.
It's November now.
It's November now, yeah.
Merry Christmas, man.
Well, getting close to that Tyson Fury fight, but before we get on to that,
That's a month today.
That's a month today. But before we get onto that, we'll try and keep onto the UFC ground at the moment, because there's quite a lot to talk about here at the moment. Khabib, I mean, he's coming out. He's undefeated so far.
27-0.
27-0. I don't know who's going to beat him.
Tony Ferguson.
See, if Tony Ferguson goes into the fight on very, very good terms, as in like he's prepared for it and he's ready for it, because when Conor went into that fight, he just looked completely out of it. He looked scruffy. He just looked completely gone.
It was
he didn't look prepared at all.
I think like everyone in the the MMA community can agree that Conor was not prepared for. He totally underestimated.
I mean, I've said this in the last 2 podcasts. He should have done what Tyson Fury's done and fight the 2 nobodies, but
yeah,
you know, I can say that all I wanted. It just hasn't happened. But
he should have just fought two jobbers, like get himself back up the rankings, actually like work to get a title match. Because let's be honest, by his example, the guy just threw a dolly cart into a bus and got a title match.
I mean, that's all you have to do. It's a weird sport. Like, all you literally have to do is
generate controversy.
Generate controversy with your bosses. If you generate like all this like drama with your bosses, with other fighters, then it's gonna be a massive fight.
Like
the more trouble that you get into and the more public news it's gonna get, the more people are gonna watch it, because it's just literally fighting your way to victory.
It's like a not staged WWE. Like, you know how they always hype their fans up with things like behind the curtain controversies, like promos where they're saying they're gonna knock each other out and that. And like that's what makes big fights in WWE, but with all that being scripted and staged, you can't really take it serious. But that's what people like. People like controversy. People like to see 2 people who utterly despise each other go for it.
It's such a weird sport. I mean, that's like with any sport. It's same as boxing.
Yeah, I mean, we look at the Fury Wilder fight.
I am so excited for that now. I'm so hyped for that fight. It's going
like
to be absolutely
a month
unreal.
today.
A month today. Yeah, we just said that.
1st of December.
Yeah.
Very exciting times.
Exciting times. One more thing I want to get on to before we look at the UFC 230 card, which is this weekend. Big fights on there. I think it was Joe Rogan that came out and said, do you know who Demetrius Johnson is?
I know the fighter.
Mighty Mouse.
Yeah.
Probably my favourite name in the UFC so far.
He's got a good record. He's got 27 wins.
27 wins, 3 defeats, 1
draw.
1 draw. I love him. Have you ever watched him?
I feel like I've seen him fight before.
I'll show you some clips afterwards, because I think he is very, very underweight. He's lost the flyweight title recently. There's talks of him coming back into maybe fight again.
Is he the very short, tall dude?
5'3".
Yeah, I think I have seen him fight before.
Bit like.
He looks a bit like Jon Jones if Jon Jones was small.
Basically, looks like Mickey Mouse and Jon Jones had a kid, and
get that. No, I'm not gonna think of Jon Jones and Mickey Mouse. But yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, there's talks of him coming back onto the UFC scene. Whether, well, I mean, who he's gonna fight, I have no idea, but that's someone I do want to see come back, because I think he's a very entertaining fighter to watch. Instead of big names coming back like Khabib, say if Khabib left and then 5 years later came back, I would not be hyped for that, mainly because of the fact I don't like the style of his fighting. For someone like Demetrius Johnson, hasn't really left the UFC but hasn't had a fight in a while.
Yeah.
Very, very, very interested in watching him fight again, whether it's on a main card or not. I'm still up for watching him on any UFC card.
If I was Dana White, like, you could make a good fight if you stick Demetrius Johnson, a guy with a record of 27-3.
27-3 against maybe someone like Chad Mendes.
I could see that working actually.
He's not that. He's what, 5'5"?
After the whole McGregor fight, Chad Mendes has disappeared off the map. Where's he in the rankings at the moment?
Oh God knows. Let's have a look. I mean, Chad Mendes is 18-4. He's only standing in at 5'6". That's 3 inches taller than Mighty Mouse.
It gives him a height advantage, but
he's got the same reach, 66-inch reach. But
6 inch. How small are his arms? It's like 60-inch.
That's at 66.
Oh, right.
It's a 6 inch.
66-inch.
6 inches, like a finger, if that.
Maybe.
But I mean, Chad Mendes is the sort of the takedown king, apart from obviously Khabib, but that's his speciality. For Demetrius, it's.
I mean, Chad Mendes can be a takedown king, but
But that's what he uses for his height.
Takedown
But
god.
in this scenario, it would be Chad Mendes being the taller fighter. If he ever fought Mighty Mouse. I mean, I'll look it up, see if it's any talk ever about it. I mean, there's a few articles about it.
Nothing actually announced, though. I could see that being an entertaining fight.
That's a fight that I would like to see. It's just comes down to what people really want to see. I mean, Khabib's the bigger name at the moment, so Mighty Mouse is sort of off the scene.
I mean, we've got McGregor booked for a fight with Silva.
Still not a lot of talk about that.
I think, like...
If there is talk about it, it's behind closed doors. There's nothing really being out there saying that it's definitely going to happen. I mean, Silva has come out and said at the start of October that he'd be up for it. Name a time, name a place, and he'll fight him. But
it's two boxers. Like it'll be a good fight.
It would be a good fight. 'Cause I do like Anderson Silva. He has had some insane knockouts, flying knees and elbows and stuff.
On another level, I think McGregor needs a fight like Anderson Silva. I think he needs to beat
It's
someone.
not going to look good on his reputation getting beat by another old guy, because Anderson Silva's getting on to like what?
He's like 44 or something.
44, 42, something like that.
The guy's
He's getting on. Older than Mayweather, or maybe same age as Mayweather.
I think Mayweather's 40. I know, like last week I said 50, and I'm sure we googled it after, and he was like only 40.
No, maybe 42 now, because it was 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Anyway, I think moving on from that, let's look at the 230 preview this
UFC
weekend.
230.
UFC 230, big fight.
3rd of November 2018, Kamiya versus Lewis.
Daniel Cormier versus My Balls Were Hot.
That probably one of the greatest post-fight interviews ever. Derek Lewis, he's a fan favourite. Like, the guy's funny. The guy's got memes.
He can definitely get the laughs.
Yeah, definitely.
But Cormier has said that someone like Derek Lewis would be scared to fight someone like Jon Jones.
I could not see Derek Lewis wanting to fight Jon Jones, but I'm sure Derek Lewis accused Cormier of being scared of it. Because everybody wants to see Cormier and Jon Jones go at it again.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoke about what Jon Jones has done and our thoughts on it. I mean, he's a very talented fighter, very talented, but it's that element of why has he done this? Why is he using these substances?
Well, he was
Not
caught
exactly.
doping twice. Was it twice?
It was caught. Yeah, it was twice, but I think the second time I've said it was quite harsh. I mean, you might have your.
Is that where it was like the tiniest trace of marijuana?
Yeah,
or
it
something,
was.
wasn't
It was a very. It can't be marijuana. Marijuana's legal now, but.
Oh, it depends where you are.
It was some sort of drug. It was tiny trace, so tiny that you could barely say it would have an effect on what you're doing. And I think being caught out with that amount on you was very harsh to be given a ban like that. Whether it was implanted on him or
even
whether
if
he's took something he didn't know, I have no idea. But
even if you were to consider like he got like penalty the second time, it was still our first time. How many fights was he in before he got caught?
Oh, he was a couple of fights in. I mean, I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast. Very, very good podcast, actually. Very funny. But
I do like Joe Rogan.
He spoke about Jon Jones, saying that, you know, they go back to his hotel, and where this is when he was like 4 fights in, and Joe Rogan even then could see that he was a very talented fighter, and at this point Jon Jones was getting trained by people on YouTube.
How do you mean?
So like he would have these semi-professional coaches that would teach people how to fight on like YouTube and stuff.
So he was doing all his coaching on YouTube?
Pretty much.
That's crazy, that.
And at this point, that's when Rogan was like, look, you have to sign up for a professional camp. You know, there's so much potential there that you've got. You can really go through with it. Whether it's through that sort of semi-professional coaching where it's not exactly full on, this is the rules, or what. With semi-professionals, you feel like it's a lot more lenient. So like you can get away with a lot more, whether he was shown the way of, you know, you can take these substances and you're not going to get caught on this and that. I mean,
like, he burst on the scene, he really did. But he got caught, like that. He got caught. That's the end of it. Like, once you get caught using performance-enhancing drugs, like, you're never going to get trusted again.
you have to do a lot if you want to get that respect back. I mean, when that ban was lifted and then the Gustafsson fight was announced, which is December 30th.
Is it 231 or 232?
232.
Yeah, end of December.
End of December, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got a date for 233 as well. January 23rd, I think.
Who's on that card? Let's have a look.
I'm not 100% actually, but I'm fairly sure we did get a date for it. January 26th.
The Bellator heavyweight title on that one.
It's on at the same time as Bellator.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I mean, I'd pick UFC over Bellator. But that's just me personally.
But this is it. This is the main prediction we're going to make now. This decision you cannot pull back on. If you get this wrong, I'm going to bully you about it. Kamiya or Lewis, who are you going for?
Lewis.
You're full on going Lewis.
Full on going Lewis. Lewis has I just personally think he's a more fun fighter to watch. Like, the guy's knocked a lot more people out than Kamiya. But
right, okay.
It's the biggest thing about Lewis is, and we even seen this in his most recent fight, his endurance is not ideal.
He hasn't got the best stamina going into fights.
Not at all.
This is going to be a 5-round fight, if I'm correct.
Yeah, 5-round fight.
So
a main event fight as well, so it's going to be pumping.
I mean, who do you ideally want to win? Who do
I
you
want Derek Lewis to win.
You want Derek Lewis to win? You think he's going to win?
I think he is going to win, yeah.
Right, okay.
Like, the guy's heavier, the guy's taller, the guy's got like a longer reach. I really think Derek Lewis has got this. I think it's not going to be easy, but I really think Derek Lewis is going to pull through.
Fair enough. I mean, if I've learned anything, it's that stats mean absolutely bot all. You can look at someone on paper and on that day, on that night, it goes the complete opposite way. I am absolutely baffled as to who's going to win this. I want Kamiya to win, and I think I'm just going to edge Kamiya to win.
It's going to be close.
I think personally, I think it's going to be a knockout fight. This fight's not going to go to decision at all for me. I think these two fighters throw that heavy punches.
I mean, it gets to a point where, like, it needs to be closed out early, because unless Derek Lewis has been absolutely hammering on his stamina in the gym, preparing for this, it needs to be done early, otherwise Derek Lewis is going to get tired and that puts him at the disadvantage. Like, we can probably both agree that Kamiya is a lot better in the endurance side than Derek Lewis.
I think maybe Derek Lewis has the better footwork in coming into the fight. I mean, I'm basing that off what I saw Kamiya do against Jon Jones. His footwork was not great at all. But if we're going down to stamina and stuff, I think Derek Lewis might just edge it on the sort of physical side of it. Yeah, no, I think I'm going to have to go Kamiya for this one.
I'm going to go with Lewis. Like, that just makes some healthy competition in the recording studio. I'm pretty excited. Like, Derek Lewis isn't He fought in 229.
Yeah, he's just come back off 229. He got a good knockout, very, very good knockout.
That was a great fight.
Let's just hope Kamiya doesn't get his balls hot.
Yeah, I mean,
because if he gets his balls hot, he is going to be.
That's it's game over, really.
Yeah, he's not going to wake up with a smile on his face. That's just.
But like at the end of the day, Kamiya hasn't lost as much as Lewis has. But I do think, like, looking at it from like a fan perspective, I genuinely think like Derek Lewis is gonna pull through. I think he's gonna win it.
Well, if we look at the rest of the UFC 230 card, do you want to just look at the main card, or are you wanting to do the prelims as well?
We'll just do the main card. Like, there's a lot of prelims. I don't usually catch the prelims, if I'm honest. Like, it gets pretty early in the morning.
Well, if we look at
we'll start from.
We'll start with the first main card, and that is Derek Brunson versus Israel Adesanya. You've absolutely nailed that.
The last style bender. How cool is that? The last style bender. Like, man's got game.
Very, very. That's probably one of the better names I've seen.
On another note, the guy's 14-0.
14-0 versus 18-6.
I do like watching an undefeated fighter fight. Because not only is it like, obviously, like, the guy's got game, he's in the UFC, he's 14-0, but there's always that risk, like, his perfect record can end in this fight.
I mean, if you look at his physicality, he's got a 1-inch reach advantage. He is 3 inches.
3 inches taller.
Yeah, 3 inches taller.
3 inch.
He's 3 inches taller. 3-inch advantage reach, and he's got an inch in leg reach as well.
Yeah.
Landed per minute, he only has 4.69.
That's more than Brunson, though.
It's more than Brunson.
But like you said,
by a second and what, 0.3?
You can look at stats all you want, man, but I think this can go either way.
I'm going to go Israel, and I'm actually going to watch this fight because
I'm going to go the last.
If I am actually impressed with this fight, maybe a couple fights on, if he has that sort of positive and all, could we see in the future Israel Adesanya versus Jon Jones?
The new greatest of all time.
Could he face Jon Jones?
At the minute, no.
Obviously not at the minute, but I'm saying, what if in the future, if he keeps that...
The guy gets more fights under his belt. He wins a title. He maintains it for a few fights. Then, like, I think if he had more experience, because he just looks like a young lad. But if he had more experience, then I think then he could probably take on Jon Jones. Whether he'd win is a totally different question.
I mean, you say young lad, he's actually 29.
I mean, that's not old.
It's not old, but to be fair, I think 29's a decent age to come in, to have a name in the UFC. I mean, he's built his way up into the main cards, and again, I'm gonna have to watch him on this card.
I think this is definitely a fight to watch.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to tune in, watch it, and on the next podcast, definitely talk about what he has to show, because I think he could be a very, very big name in the UFC if he performs well in this fight. And maybe in the future, come 2-3 years time, if he has that positive and all, could we see him face Jon Jones if Jon Jones isn't getting any more trouble?
The thing is with these positive records is it brings other fighters in who want to end that guy's record. Because, like, imagine if the last style bender, our Israel Adesanya, imagine the guy goes undefeated, builds a bigger name for himself. Like, we look at the guy and he ends up being 21-0. That's like when the big dogs start coming in. That's when he starts getting like the chat from names like McGregor and some big boy wanting to ruin this guy's day.
I mean, he's got 86 knockout percentage.
In the 14 fights, like that's
insane.
That's quite a few.
That's at least. Hold on, let me use my maths here. About 8, 9, maybe even 10 knockouts. That's insane.
I'm not very good at maths.
I'm just doing that off the top of my
I
head.
think we're looking probably 10, 11.
Definitely. Very, very good fighter.
It's a very exciting thing to look forward to. Like, it is just this weekend, but I'm looking forward to this fight. Plus,
I'm looking forward to that fight.
First fight of the main card and last fight of the main card, both looking to be fantastic.
Well, the second fight going into the main card, Carl Robertson versus Jack Marshman.
Jack Marshman, the man
Baby
from the
K
UK.
versus the Hammer.
The man from the UK, Jack Marshman. South of Wales.
He's got experience under his belt.
100%. 29 fights. You look at
22
Carl
wins.
Robertson. He's had 7 fights. Like, Marshman is definitely the more experienced fighter, like, without a doubt.
I mean,
But in terms of reach and such, they're pretty even.
I think this is a well-matched fight.
Yeah, I think these two put together.
Take away the experience that one fighter has got compared to the younger fighter, which is Carl Robertson. You've got a good fight here on the card. I mean,
we could have an up-and-coming star in the UFC versus a veteran of the sport. 29 fights. That makes you've been through quite a bit.
Not often that we see fighters come from Wales, but
yeah, I wouldn't really call Wales the fight capital of the world.
Definitely not. But
it's good to see someone from the UK, and I'm gonna go with our boy.
You're going with
Mr. Marshman.
Well, I'm gonna go Baby K on this one. I think the younger fighter is maybe gonna pull a victory out of this one.
Yeah,
decision for me. This one's gonna be.
I'm still feeling like bare patriotic.
All right. Okay.
But yeah, I'm gonna go with Marshman.
Decision or knockout or submission.
I don't know. I mean,
I'm going full on decision for this one.
I'd like to say a knockout, but Carl Robertson's quite good with his submissions.
Yeah. Indeed,
so, could we be looking at a boxer and a wrestler fight?
Maybe, but who knows? Who knows?
We'll find out on Sunday morning.
Sunday morning for us. David Branch versus Jared
Cannonier.
Don't
worry, mate. I'll handle all the pronunciations.
The Killer Gorilla.
Yeah, that's him.
Both from the USA. 21-4 for David Branch, who was ranked number 7 in the
185 pounds.
Yeah, in that division. Cannonier, 10-4. He's got a 60% knockout rate.
It's totally skipped me. What division's 185?
Heavyweight?
Light heavyweight?
Maybe.
Mind blanked. Being ill is totally ruining this podcast.
Yeah, I know.
I'm totally out
I bet
of it, mate.
when we come back and listen to this, it sounds absolutely awful.
But yeah, I mean,
I don't like listening to these anyway because I think my voice is absolutely atrocious. But
yeah, I struggle listening to my own voice too. But we're drifting off topic here.
Right? We haven't got a lot of time. Killer Gorilla for me on this one, even though he's got the same defeats as David Branch, even though David Branch had 11 more
Sunday
victories.
Morning, that's going to change, man. Someone's going to have the 5th defeat.
Personally, I think this one should be on the first one on the main card. I don't rate. I think the Israel had a 10-year fight.
I think this is definitely a good warm-up fight. There's not much to say about this
one.
Not
much to say about it, really.
I do think Cannonier is going to pull through.
I think Cannonier as well, so we'll keep on with that. Chris Weidman, he's back, and he's fighting Ronaldo Souza.
Jakar. Is that how you say his nickname?
Jakar.
I don't know. Chris Weidman.
Chris Weidman, very, very. I was going to say controversial fighter, but he's not really controversial at all.
The Americans love him.
Americans do love him. I mean, he has been slated, and he's a bit like Max Holloway in that sense. Very, very underrated in his style of fighting, but is a good fighter. 14-3 versus 25-6.
So we can agree that Souza is.
Last time we saw someone from America versus Brazil, it was the American that came out on top.
When was that?
Well, we're looking earlier in the year for this, maybe even last year. It was Max Holloway versus Jose Aldo. We're looking a while back now, but Max Holloway, Chris Weidman. What do you make on this fight?
Chris Weidman. I mean, less experienced, but I think he's got it. Souza is more of like.
He's definitely got the more hype around him. I think that's 100%. Like, you can agree with that the hype is more involved for Chris Weidman, sort of like in the sense that probably the bigger name going into this fight.
Yeah, I'd agree on that. I think Weidman's a lot more well known than Souza, but Souza's more of like submissionist.
I mean, it's number 3 versus number 5 in the division. I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, for me, it's going to be Weidman.
I'm going to go with Weidman on this one.
I'm actually going to go. You know what? I'm going to go submission.
You think Weidman's going to win by submission?
Yep.
All right, that's a bit out there. I think he's going to win knockout or TKO. I don't think he'll win submission, but I suppose we've only got a few days to wait. I can see it going down to submission. I can see Chris Weidman throwing a left hook, knocking back Souza, and then he gets him in the arm bar and finishes off the fight. I mean, I know in front of me here it says he's only got 30% submission, but what that means nothing to me. So I think like watching him, he's more of a striker.
I think it's going to go down submission to me, guaranteed.
Only got a few days to wait, man.
And then that is the lead-up fight to Kamiya and Derek Lewis.
We've said our thoughts on this. I stand by with going for Derek Lewis.
You've gone Lewis. I've gone my man Kamiya. And I think I think we should round it off there.
I mean, that's pretty much all we've got to talk about.
I mean, we could go further on, maybe looking into Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder.
I mean, the only thing that's really happened this week is the prank on Fury, when some guy dressed up in a dog suit, and then Fury threw a little bit shade. He was like, "We don't punch mascots." After Wilder broke a man's jaw.
He was actually recently on the Joe Rogan podcast and actually started giving a bit of heart to heart. It's quite. It
was quite sad.
It's actually quite sad what he had to say. You know, he was speaking about his life after sort of fighting, and that he was quite on a down low, and you know, actually attempted suicide.
It's always sad to see, because like, you look at Wilder, big, massive guy, big, strong guy who probably fights for a living
at the peak of his career. But for someone like Tyson Fury to come out and say that he's thought about the attempt of suicide and all these thoughts going on, it's an intense sport with a lot of feelings in it. I don't think a lot of people see that.
It's not just the feelings, you got to think the long-term effects, like the damage it does to your brain.
I mean, it's any sport. You know, with football, you've got the research going into players' head in the football and that affecting sort of later on in the life of them having brain aneurysms and seizures and
like take Petr Cech for example. He had to wear a head guard.
He had to wear a head guard, but what I'm saying is when players head a football, Alan Shearer did a documentary on it. people that are heading the football have more of a chance of getting dementia.
That's scary, that.
And obviously, for someone like Alan Shearer, heading the football was a big part of his game.
Yeah.
If you look into fighting, people throwing in hooks to the head.
People getting punched in the head.
You know, there's so many times where you've seen a fight and the fighter's been knocked down and then they're getting ground and pound, punches leathered into the floor.
McGregor and Aldo.
McGregor and Aldo. Khabib smashing so many punches into McGregor's face.
When he fought Barbosa.
Exactly. I mean,
like, I thought Barbosa...
The effects that you can have on a life is very, very serious. And
but it's not just the effects you can have on a life, it's like how someone can mentally change.
And that's where the respect comes from. People think it's weird and strange that people they'll talk so much rubbish leading up to a fight and absolutely bully them to the point where at the end of the fight they're giving each other's hugs, and for me it's so much more than that.
It's all part of the game though, isn't it?
It's part of the game. It's respect, and it's it's sort of like, look, I've just smashed your head and I've probably screwed up your...
I mean, the way I say it is, if you need to get to someone mentally to beat them in a fight, like, of course it's not the most ideal or nicest thing to do to someone, but like it makes you
a lot of people do slate fighters because of the lifestyle that they have, and through the fact that they fight, they're getting money from it. But people, I mean, we could talk about this on the next podcast probably, but
it's
people, one, it's a talent, and two, they don't get a lot of money for it.
The promoters, on the other hand.
The promoters get so much money. The fighters barely make anything.
You look at the big money fights, like...
Big money fights, alright, yeah, Mayweather, McGregor, 50 million each, or whatever they got.
Little John from Stanley down on...
I mean, there's so many UFC fights.
He gets nothing.
You ask someone like Tony Ferguson, you ask how much he was making in his first few UFC fights on the big stage before he was doing all this TV show and stuff.
I mean, you gotta
he
think,
would be making bare minimum.
The guys on the prelims.
He's on the prelims, and I bet these fighters are making bare minimum. They might make a lot more now because UFC's a big branded sport.
Yeah,
it's been only took over by 11 sports, I think it is. And
I know ESPN
are getting involved and all of this, but
does that mean we lose on BT Sport?
We lose on BT Sport next.
That's absolutely
next
depressing.
year. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but yeah, I think we'll leave it there. We're hitting towards the 45-minute mark, so
I mean, yeah, enjoy UFC 230. We know we will, and have a good day.
Have a good day, and thanks for listening.
Stay safe.